All right, everyone, back here. Today I'm doing the seat fitment. I got the Saddlemen step up. That's what I went with for a lot of reasons. One, the posture and the position of this bike. With the old seat setup, I still think by far one of the best looking seats that I've ever kind of come up with. But long rides on the highway, you're a lot of slipping. Kind of, shouldn't say slipping, but like kind of feeling like you're sliding backwards off that lower bucket style seat, which then in turn leads to more arm and leg fatigue because you're trying to compensate to kind of squeeze the bike harder or hold on to the bars a little bit more. This step up is going to completely stop that. It's a major improvement in the functionality of the bike for longer rides and a better seat for the passenger. The downside is I lose the old world leather map, maybe, as you can see. That's tough. That's tough for me because I love the brown and white and black, kind of the three coming together, and that brown really in the middle towards the back of the bike was like a nice flow and transition. But safety, functionality is obviously more important than aesthetics. Aesthetics always comes last. And this is not a showroom bike that's just sitting, this is a bike that's ridden. So long or the short, the step up by Saddlemen is the way that I went to go. No promotions here, it's just the bike or the seat that I decided to go with for my bike. However, as you can see, I put my gas tank back on, I've got it all fitted, and I've got, what's that, 5 inches, 4 inches maybe, of overhang here. And I'm not extending the rear fender. That completely changes the look of the bike in my opinion. This fender is already, I think, it's about as short as it could ever go, but I don't want it to go any longer. So I've had the seat for a couple weeks now, and I've been really thinking about this because, it's a brand new seat, they're not inexpensive, but ultimately I need to cut the seat. So I came here today to take the measurements of where I need to go to at the least, but I need to come back a little bit further to give the mounting, to give this mounting bracket space to, I have to remount it underneath the seat because obviously I'm going to be shortening the seat, so the original position won't work, but I need to mount it to the fender under here like this, which means I need to mount this under the seat here. I need to fix that. So in order to do that, I need to come back even a little bit shorter. I've sat on the seat in both the driver's and passenger's position. So me, passenger, somewhere between 5'10 and 5'11 male, I've got the space. It's about as tight as it can get, but she could ride as close to me as she wants to. So it doesn't really bother me if she comes up even closer. But she's going to be smaller than me. So even in the worst case scenario, if she were to really go back and be like lounging back here, plenty of seat space. And for me, I mean, I've got a ton. I could be all the way up here and she could be right into me, and we're good. We're copacetic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the leather at a point where I could say, well, I don't want to go back or forward really towards the front of the bike any further, right? So I don't want to start too far back and then have to make small cut after small cut. I'm just immediately going to go and say, well, I'm not going back any further than this on the seat or closer to the driver, and then based on that, I'll figure out how to mount it, the mounting bracket under the seat. In order to do that, Saddlemen, hopefully this is close enough, I'm going to have to drill these rivets out. Well, at least 3 back, 1, 2, 3. Maybe a 4th to give me more flexibility. So I'll drill all these out, I'll peel the leather up and over, and then kind of get an idea of what this looks like underneath, right? You got a hard shell, obviously some foam, and can I cut that, recreate this mounting bracket position here, and what I would have to do is then you'll see that this is recessed right here, if you can see that angle, right? Because this sits like this, recessed. I don't have that option here. So what I'm going to have to do is take this and either recreate it or maybe straighten it so that it sits flush with the hard shell under here. I could put a little padding to protect the fender, but I'm really not too concerned. And then that way it just rides flush with the seat and the fender. Or depending on what this looks like under here and how thick it is, maybe I could divot it out a little bit just to slightly get it in there. But I don't know. This is a very much a we have to kind of cut and see sort of situation. So you could, I'm sure, understand why I've been waiting a couple weeks. So I'm probably already 5 minutes, if not longer, into this. So that's what today is. I'm just going to get to work. It'll be the same thing. You know, I'll just kind of stop as I go and kind of show you the progress and what's it look like. But this is going to be a surprise. I have no idea what to expect once I get into this. So that's it. Wish me luck, and well, you'll see by the end of the video if I created a disaster or wasted a lot of money on a seat idea that just can't work. So fingers crossed. All right, catch you soon. All right, I'll get my face in there this time. Probably super close, but so I drilled out the first 4 instead of the first 3 because this little overlap here was really kind of restricting me. So next step, you can see here's the foam. I'm going to peel this back and over. I'll try to without destroying anything, and just get a look at this. So, luckily on the foam, I could see actually where some of the indentation, the foam from the pattern of the stitching, which is helpful. But now, and I'm going to get back to work, but you know, I just kind of wanted to see what this looks like before I start marking where to cut. Now I'm going to trace out, when I had it on the bike, I counted how many stitches back I want this to make the cut. So I'll fold this back over, I'll do that, and I'll trace that line across here, and this comes to a much broader or narrower point, and metal shavings everywhere. Garage life, right? Yeah, just got to kind of start marking things and cutting it up. So anyway, enough said, back to it. All right. No going back now. Yeah, so again, I went back as close to the front of the bike as I was willing to go, so that way when this is all capped off and reupholstered and I've got the mounting bar, mounting bracket and all of that kind of sorted, there's a little bit of room that, you know, I could use if I need to go towards the end of the bike or back a little bit further to clean this up. So it's a very rough cut, obviously, but that's okay. Whether I stitch into this existing or maybe have like an upholster redo this whole back section, but I wanted to leave this on, if that's the case, as a reference point that we can't cut any further towards the front of the bike. And when I rebuild and reupholster and put it back together, we can certainly go back about, probably got about an inch, but for the back of the cushion would be, I'm looking at the sissy bar right there, kind of close to the edge of the fender and picking up road debris and water and all that. So next step now, and you can see I'm getting anxious to just get to it, is to cut this, peel it off, figure out my mounting bracket situation, get everything mocked up, and then it's reupholster and knock this out. So let's do it. All right, moving along. That only took about a minute or two. So foam section is out. As you can see, these, like I was talking before, these brackets, the mounting bracket for this is recessed up into the seat. I can't recreate that, but what I do like is that these are threaded under here versus riveted in, which makes which makes sense, obviously, I think, from a strength perspective and just like a robustness. So I could probably, hopefully, reuse these, and again, maybe just modify the articulation of the bar that mounts to this, which then mounts to this fender, instead of having that little drop, just straight, even maybe with a little curve that matches the curvature of the fender, so that when this sits, it's got to be pushed down a little bit to meet the fender, and then that'll hold it in place. And I could very easily get like a 3M tape and put it on the underside of the that bar, in between the bar and the fender, to prevent any wear of the paint on the fender, and that'll be hidden obviously by the seat itself anyway. So that not concerned about. So yeah, just cut. Now it has to work. But I feel pretty good at this point. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my multi-tool out and just cut this off, saw it off, and then put it back on the bike and see where I'm at, take some measurements, and then really it'll be kind of having to like get these in through here, kind of maybe stick some wedges or something in here to pull the foam up, right, and then get these, drill the 2 holes, get them under there and in there, and then tighten down. But we'll see. This is kind of where we're at right now. So next step is cutting with the multi-tool, and then yeah, putting it back on and seeing what it looks like from a measurement perspective. So hell yeah, pretty pumped. Back to it. All right, so simple enough. I gotta figure out, by the way, I was looking at these when I stopped the video before. Maybe these are like just a heavy duty type of rivet that then's threaded. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look and see. But if I could reuse these, that's great. But if not, I'm also okay with just bolts and lock washers in place that never come unscrewed. But nonetheless, now going back, a little bit messy here. Let me cut this up for you before I. Lots of fabric. But you can see now, trimmed, right, in that way. Okay, and again, imagine like this is kind of rough, and I'll clean it up, but you know that's going to be reupholstered and filled out. So whether I file this down really closely and make this all uniform between the plastic pad and the leather, and then you know it's going to be reupholstered. So that's all covered, but the big thing here is, you know, I left these big extra tabs of leather in place to re-rivet in the original spot, so it really holds the rest of this as it was designed. And then where this is reupholstered, it'll come up ideally over these and then down this way with the strip of leather riveted next to these, so really reinforcing it. So I think the biggest hurdle now at this point is going to be the mounting and the measurements, but if I can get that done today, I might be ready to close this out. So get back to it. So what I did is I drilled 2 new holes, or 3 new holes. These 2 will be permanently affixed along with this bar to the seat, and then once you put the seat on, you'll just do this last bolt. So now I just need to get creative on how I want to fix this bar to the seat. I've got some ideas. So yeah, just kind of wanted to give you a close-up and kind of see where I'm at. And I want to do all this cutting and drilling and bending and all that obviously before I have this fender painted. And I'll also close these 3 holes out, and there's one under the one right here, so water and all that crap, you know, will stay out, because this is the last time I'm doing a seat job on this bike. You know, knock on wood, but you know, should be good after this. So back to it. All right, so what I was doing there was marking where I need to now drill the 2 holes in this to hopefully use these original threaded brackets, whatever you want to call them, and or buy ones at least that are similar to this, same size, so that it'll be an easy on-off with the seat whenever I want to do it. So it took a little while, but I wanted to make sure it was right, or as close as it could be, because once you start drilling, if you're off by a small amount and you need to drill another hole next to it, now you got 2 holes that are too big. So well, 2 holes that turns into 1 big hole. So looking good. Back to it. You can see the 2 holes there. I'll get these. Recreate this right here. Yeah, the only thing is I think these probably are. I've never seen anything like this before, but it looks like it's a rivet of some sort. So I'll have to probably go to a hardware store, cut these out somehow, or just take this to a hardware store and see if someone more knowledgeable just with hardware can tell me what these things are. And then I'll just, you know, buy 2 of them, recreate it, and